What if Spider-Man 4, we get Man-Spider?
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast, with your hosts, Connor O'Neill and Matthew Hughes.
What is up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Nerdy Misfit Podcast.
Hello. Welcome to an episode we haven't really done in a hot minute in a way. Usually it's spread across multiple episodes.
Yep, so here we are. We're doing a quick, I guess, hot news run. We obviously won't get into the weeds and the thickets, but we'll cover some of the big ones that's come out recently.
Or stuff that we find interesting, at least. Too.
Yeah, for sure. Starting off, we'll just discuss we had a recent trip to the bookstore. If you're new around here, we often try to go to a physical store as opposed to
just getting it off online websites.
A certain big, massive corporation that gets a lot of sales.
Never heard of it.
It's also nice to maybe you see a book that you never thought would interest you, or even manga that you're like, oh, I didn't even, you know what, it's here, and I'm gonna
physical volume,
and you grab it. So we it wasn't our craziest run or haul, I would say, but we picked up Tokyo Revengers, the second last volume for English release, the most recent release of JJK, which was volume 25. We have both completed JJK, but this is just a matter of completing the.
You might be able to see it behind Connor's head, but JJK is up there.
Yep. Free Ren, most recent volume. Dan to Dan, the most recent volume. And also, Matt picked up the novelization of Suzume. Yeah.
Because I had Weathering with You, and I had Your Name. It just felt like I should probably get Suzume. Plus, they're always, I don't know, they're great movies. Good to read about them. And
But so go support your local store for books. You never know what you might find. You might find some harder to find manga there as well.
That's true. You never know.
Gray actually went to a bookstore recently, and they had someone must have dropped off or for credit or something brought in used manga.
Yeah.
And it was just in a box, and it had the hint like popular manga, an exciting classroom or something along those lines.
Yeah.
And it was Assassination Classroom for like heavily discounted, like something like 50% off for the entire set.
Wild.
And it wasn't the box set. It was just the collection from volumes 1 to whatever it is, 27, something like that.
Yeah, I think it's 27. And
he said they're in pretty good condition. Like you can tell that they were used and read, but definitely not like a bad condition.
Yeah.
And significantly reduced price. And so you never know what you might find when you go.
Exactly.
With that said, let's jump into, I guess, some manga news.
Yeah.
So I only put down some bigger things. I didn't want to like put down every single new release that Viz has picked up or that's being announced. But let's start off with something easy, which was March 3rd. Obviously, we're already over halfway through March as this episode comes out. But March 3rd was actually the 27th anniversary of Hunter x Hunter.
That's wild.
It's not 27 years worth of story, unfortunately, due to the often hiatus of the story. But 27 years of Hunter x Hunter. It's
they're selling them in 3-in-1s now.
They did start selling them in 3-in-1s. We did see a cup, and One Piece has been going for a bit.
Yeah.
Haikyuu also started, which we saw.
Started 3-in-1s. Do you think 3-in-1's the way to go?
Hate them.
Like,
Nope, hate them.
Eh?
Think they're ugly.
I mostly agree, but obviously when it comes to like Tokyo Revengers, if that's the only way we can get them.
Yeah, that's the and they're 2-in-1s at least, which is a little bit more
durable.
They're not as like super chunky.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not a big fan of the 3-in-1s personally. From a price standpoint, they're definitely decent.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't love them. So other big news for manga fans specifically is Kingdom is finally getting a Western print, an English print by Viz. That'll be starting in November.
Which is insane.
Yeah, to give some people some hindsight, if you're unaware, obviously Kingdom does have an anime that's going on that I'd say has a pretty good cult following. There are people that really like it.
Yeah.
And same for the actual manga. Actually, it's extremely popular in Japan. The series has been going on since 2006, and we're finally getting a English release. We've talked about it on the podcast before. It is a very Very good series. Very long. So if you're
Yeah.
into One Piece and you really like those long running series, you're like, yeah, just I
Pick
want
up
something that
Kingdom.
lasts forever. Kingdom's a good choice. It's also usually in the top sold manga when
It
we
has
do.
been in the last couple of years.
Yeah,
since
when we
we've
do those
recorded
episodes.
Yeah.
It's usually up there. So it's a historic kind of based on like the more ancient China, like during the war of all the kingdoms of China becoming unified. So it's a fun story. Shonen, obviously. I could be saying it, I'm not entirely sure, but action, adventure. It's got your classic, like, I want to be X. I don't want to spoil any things, but,
Yeah.
has your main character who has a certain goal. Obviously, like, you're just following it as they hopefully achieve that goal. But it is a very good story. I would recommend it to a lot of people if you like your One Pieces, your Narutos, etc. But that's very exciting. Definitely will be picking that up. It'll take forever to catch up to where they are. So hoping to see once the volumes start, I hope we see them come out very quickly, because that is one issue we have with manga. Obviously, is sometimes they get really slow on the releases. There's some series that obviously Gray would be able to speak to this more since he's much more into manga collecting. I think that they just stop printing for whatever reason.
Yeah. It
I think
doesn't really make sense.
I think March Comes in Like a Lion is really bad. They have like one volume or two volumes, but there's so many more that could come out, but they haven't come out with one in over a year, something like that. But hopefully they just start cranking these ones out. That'd be exciting. I know Matt would probably end up reading it. So
Definitely.
on top of that, we got JoJo Part 6, which recently got the last English volume released. And as of this recording, I believe May 2025 is when Part 7, Steel Ball Run, which we're both not huge JoJo fans,
Yeah, I don't know
but
too
from
much about it,
my
but
friends and discussing with people that are, it sounds like this is a very loved part of JoJo. Might be up there as numero uno in terms of fan base loving this part the most. So that is exciting news for JoJo fans out there. And then this one comes from Gray as well. This is where I got a lot of my... I know that he is super excited about this, but this is... Mushishi's manga is actually getting a reprint in English as hardcover deluxe editions. I know that this is big news for Gray specifically because he really enjoys the series, and it's impossible to find the original release, and you have to either pay a way, premium to try and get it, most likely also used.
yeah.
So he has not finished it, so I'm sure he's really excited to see it getting a reprint. And then the last big news is that as of recording this, actually tomorrow, as this releases, is the Kaguya-sama and Oshinoko author, also known as Akasaka, I believe is the author name, has a new fantasy manga, Marichin Crown, which is set to have its first chapter released.
That's exciting.
So obviously a lot of people like those series. Kaguya-sama, massive. Oshinoko, I know some people say maybe didn't end the best, but I think we are seeing a pattern that they're capable of writing at least popular series. Whether the endings are as strong as people like or not, that's to be debated, but each series has gotten popular. So I expect this to be no different. The track record is starting to be there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's some of the bigger manga news or exciting manga news that we picked up on. Thanks to Gray for also helping us out with
Thank you, Gray.
the manga section.
Moving on to Western manga, aka comic books. Mostly Marvel and DC news here. To me, all these things are pretty big, but the biggest one is we are going to get a Marvel and DC Comics crossover.
Yeah, that's
been insane.
Been a long time.
Long time coming. We have not had anything for this since the late 80s, early 90s of a 4-issue comic, which was Marvel versus DC, followed by something called the Amalgam Universe, which is you take one Marvel character and mix it with a DC character. So that's where certain characters like Lobo the Duck exists, Iron Hammer.
Yep.
You have, can't remember what its name, but there's a Wolverine Batman mix. There's a Superman and
what a
Superman
combo
mix. Superman and Captain America mix. There's a Superboy and Spider-Man mix. Anyways, it's a fun little series. But yeah, that's huge news. So there are going to be 2 titles, 2 one-shots. One will be titled Marvel DC, which will come under the Marvel Comics title, and the other one will be DC Marvel, obviously under the DC Comics title.
What do you think what do you think brought this together? I think that it's more of a we scratch your back, you're scratching our back, trying just to. I'm sure comics maybe aren't doing as
That's exactly what
well
it is.
as both editor-in-chiefs are wanting in
I would
terms of
100%
both
agree.
sales.
For me personally, that I think that's what it is, especially with Diamondback, I think is the full name, Diamondback Publishing, which is a company that does a lot of third-party comics that aren't Marvel or DC,
Right.
went bankrupt. So now there's a lot of like big titles that are struggling to get out. Comic book store owners are struggling to find new
comics
titles.
getting more and more
Comics
expensive.
are expensive, especially in Canada with the exchange rate and everything else that's going on in the world.
Printings are becoming less and less.
Exactly. It's unfortunate because someone like you and I, we used to collect comics all the time.
It's very
Right.
expensive.
Very expensive. So if you're listening to this, go support your local comic book store. Keep them afloat. They love to talk. They love to see people.
Yeah, it's a community. It's more than just reading.
Exactly. And speaking of comic book issues, by the time this episode comes out, technically today, there will be a new issue underneath DC Comics that's coming out called Absolute Flash. Now, this is something they've been doing for a little bit now at the Absolute Universe. There's Absolute Batman, Absolute Superman, Absolute Wonder Woman. Those are the 3 titles right now. Now, I've read all those, and they are phenomenal. Some better than others, but like Wonder Woman lives on an island with Cersei because all the Amazons are dead, and her like
Is this all in the same universe?
all the same universe.
So is this like a year one kind of universe
Think of it as
or
the
Ultimate Universe? Spider-Man?
equivalent
Yeah.
to DC.
Okay.
Because this is like Batman is middle class in this universe, where his
Interesting.
mom is still alive, and some of his best friends growing up are Caldwell. Like it's all like the Penguin, Riddler. He's best friends with
Interesting.
Harvey, Catwoman. They're all like good friends. So it's like there's not really like a lot of the big bads that we know aren't the big bads yet.
Right.
If they are going to come, that we don't really know. Superman, he landed on Earth when he was like closer to his 20s, and Lois Lane is part of the
So more
government.
more Supergirl kind of.
Yeah, and then Wonder Woman is like doesn't like coming like to main like island or anything like that, and she controls like undead zombies, and like it's pretty extreme. This Absolute Flash issue comes out March 19th, where it's going to be Wally West, no other Flash family, no Speed Force.
No Speed Force.
Slight spoiler alert, Barry Allen isn't it, and he's just a random scientist. Like, he's
I mean,
not
I
huge.
assume by no other Flash family.
Yeah, so that's going to be fun.
How do you feel about Wally West though compared to Barry Allen? Like, do you lean one way or the other?
I mean, I was a big fan of the Flash TV show, so Barry Allen is my go-to answer for that. But I know anyone that's watched the Justice League Unlimited show will be like Wally West.
Has a special spot for Wally for sure.
Exactly, yeah.
I think
they both got their strengths and they both got their weaknesses.
for sure. I think I like Barry mostly due to a lot of his stories though.
Yeah, he was back to being the Flash in New 52 when we were reading the
and
comics.
he got Flashpoint, which was a great story.
Changes everything of the DC universe.
A lot of his volumes were also great during the New 52 for sure. I really enjoyed them.
But otherwise, the week after that, we get Absolute Martian Manhunter issue #1, which
Love
I'm
me some
excited
Martian
about.
Manhunter, yeah.
FBI agent John Jones' body gets taken over by an alien consciousness referred to as the Martian, causing him to go slowly crazy and being brought into an alien war. So obviously, again, right there, that's a different take on Martian Manhunter completely. And then week after that, we got Absolute Green Lantern #1, which is going to be following Joe Melanie, who is a new Earth Green Lantern in the comics. Then you got Hal Jordan, Jon Stewart, Guy Gardner.
This is kind of funny that the Absolute Flash is like, this is the Flash, no other Flash. We go to Green Lantern, and it's like, here's every single Green Lantern you know.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, and we're adding a new one.
She got in the comics, I think, a couple of years ago in a storyline called Far Sector. I haven't personally read it because I just feel like there's too many Earth Green Lanterns now.
Yeah, we don't have enough. It feels like the Green Lantern is like a sector, right? That's where there's, and it feels like the sector doesn't truly need that many Green Lanterns.
No, it really
in
doesn't.
comparison to the greater universe.
No, the
So it's
big
wild
thing-
that we have this many human Green Lanterns at
the
this
big
point.
thing that happened at the beginning of Rebirth is the fact that they kicked all the Earth Green Lanterns off this sector and was like, listen, you guys don't belong here. Go protect some other sector, please.
Yeah.
Which I was like, you know what? Makes sense. And the last big news in comic book for us is Jeff Loeb returning not only just to DC, but also Marvel Comics
Yes.
for both anniversaries / sequels of some of his biggest stories. So Jeff Loeb, you may know him from Batman Long Halloween for DC. You may know him as the writer of Hush.
Yeah, I don't know if you heard of it.
Like,
Small
might have
Batman
a
story.
bit, you know. But yeah, the anticipated sequel to Hush
With
it's
Jim Lee.
happened with Jim Lee, who's his art is beautiful.
His art is impeccable. It's so good. Some of my favorite stories have Jim Lee's art, and he hasn't been in a lot of comics because he's very involved in running the show.
Yeah,
for
which
DC
Jeff Loeb
Comics.
used to be. He used to be both. I think he helped write Smallville for a bit, and then he actually jumped on and became like one of the higher ups for Marvel Television. So he actually helped with lots of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., a lot of the Netflix shows and stuff like that. So yeah, first issue of Hush, the sequel to Hush, comes out at the end of March here. And then another big thing is Jeff Loeb for Marvel. He helped with Age of Apocalypse, which is a huge storyline, and also helped write the first appearance of Red Hulk. Not Theodore Ross, but like Ross becoming
I
Red
mean,
Hulk.
both sounding very, very relevant.
Yeah.
Because obviously, like you said, may have not been the exact Red Hulk, but we do have Red Hulk right now in the
Hulk's
MCU.
now,
And there's a lot of rumors around
are coming.
X-Men. And when there is the X-Men, of course, you have to talk about one of their, if not the most iconic
arguably
villain.
one of the biggest iconic. I mean, one of the Wolverine variants in Deadpool and Wolverine was the Age of Apocalypse one, right? But Age of Apocalypse came out 30 years ago this year. So Jeff Loeb is returning with Simone DeMeo, who is the one that also drew it. So them together are coming back to do a giant size Age of Apocalypse anniversary issue, which is pretty. I'm stoked. You know, Age of Apocalypse is, like you said, it's one of the best memorable.
He's a
X-Men
crazy villain.
storylines.
He's a crazy villain too. Just
Apocalypse, yeah, and they gave him a crazy origin over the last few years of like who his first like Horseman stuff was and how it's like it's kids.
it's kind of funny.
how,
I feel like DC has generally, I think some of their heroes are pretty insanely powered and
Yeah.
they're good. They're great. I mean, I don't want to like diss on Marvel too much, but their counterparts, if they have any, are usually cooler on DC side, or you know, Marvel is inspired by.
Yeah,
But
Apocalypse
X-Men
kinda kills
villains,
it.
Marvel, some of Marvel's big villains.
Like if you take out like the big Avenger villains like Doctor Doom, Galactus, Red Skull,
But those villains
like-
are villains of other people.
Yeah, that's
that have,
what I mean.
That are just so broken that
Yeah.
they have become Avengers level threats.
exactly. But when you like Apocalypse, huge villain. Onslaught.
Onslaught.
If you don't know
yeah,
who Onslaught
absolutely.
is, it's the
The
mix,
Phoenix.
The Phoenix, huge one as well. I mean, Avengers versus X-Men. That was
Yeah.
the whole premise
Oh
of
man,
that, right?
I would have loved.
Oh,
I'm be both scared but so excited.
that would
You know what I mean?
That would be an equivalent of an Avatar movie.
It's
on
like
the
when
budget.
Civil War got announced, and I was like,
Well, early, but let's do it. I mean, they killed it, Civil War.
they
but
did a great job with
the MCU.
what they could do.
Yeah.
Obviously, they couldn't do to a T the original Civil War story,
Yeah.
which I love. I love the original Civil War story, but
Yeah, and Avengers versus X-Men would be insane.
it would be
as
so
fuck.
hype.
That one, I'd be like, let's get a part 1, part 2. Like,
How good of an introduction would that be maybe for the X-Men?
I
Having
think
an introduction of an X-Men, like mutants, and then already having a conflict.
right off the bat, it would be great.
And it'd be so interesting because we would have Sam Wilson's Captain America like leading the charge.
Yeah,
So already there would be that MCU twist, which how would Sam handle
there's
it?
stuff that happened in Avengers vs X-Men, which unfortunately we won't get.
The drama of Black Panther and Storm.
yeah, because that is such a like they get a divorce over it. Other big things is that we won't get to see how like Beast and Wolverine feel because they've been on both teams.
Yeah.
So there's like minor things we don't really get to see.
Well,
but
it's similar to remember when Civil War first got announced, we're like, but there's no Spider-Man. Spider-Man plays
Yeah.
such a big role. And Spider-Man did end up being
Being a
part of
good
it.
role,
And
yeah.
that was super exciting that he did get casted and we knew that he was going to be in the film. But his role was nowhere near what it
No,
was
impactful.
in the Civil War comics, but it was still exciting.
Yeah.
So even though maybe some of the drama would be left, the hype of having the X-Men alone is already great in the MCU, but to like see them, there's something that's just crazy about seeing the heroes versus heroes.
Yeah, I do think that doesn't really happen too much in DC. Like, there's obviously the Justice League versus Teen Titans, and like
The Batman story where he takes out but that's more because the Justice League is taken over.
Yeah,
Right? Like
we never really see, in my opinion, like, because really in DC we have the Justice League,
mhm,
and then we have like minor teams like the Sirens or
Teen Titans.
the
Yeah.
Green Lanterns. Even like we're never gonna see the Justice League fight the Green Lanterns.
There was that movie, the Justice League versus Teen Titans.
That was based off a couple issues of a comic, yeah.
But they're never as political
Yeah.
or like dramatic, right? Like
Yeah.
X-Men versus Avengers, there's a lot going on within that politics for
Yeah.
for the universe.
I feel like
Civil War, huge political differences
Yeah.
within the Avengers.
when it comes to DC, it's always like Superman, sorry, has his own issues with the Kryptonians. Batman has his own issues in Gotham. The Green Lanterns have issues in space. Flash.
And then
has
when
got
we have a
stuff
big
in-
villain, then
they all come
we
together.
call the Justice League.
Yeah.
And we're like, "Oh, Darkseid's back."
Yeah, but we're never gonna get like the politics of like.
No, it's more of like, "Oh, you've been enjoying your Superman story, your Batman story. Hey, we're going to throw in a little bit of tidbits being like, "Oh, there's something else going on. Something weird Brainiac is
Yeah.
doing, putting your universes in jars."
I would say excluding Injustice. That would
Excluding
be the one
Inju-
thing that kind of goes like heroes versus
But
heroes.
and
But
they played into the fact that it was a fighting game.
Yeah.
Which heroes versus heroes.
yeah, outside of that, I can't think of anything on top of my head.
Let us know
But-
if you're a huge comic book reader. Give us some DC backstory. What are some of the big stories you liked where
Heroes are fighting
Heroes are fighting heroes.
Not necessarily brainwashed either. Like if they're brainwashed, I feel like that's a cop out.
yeah, it's not the same.
But I just want like good like
Drama.
You know,
What caused them to
yeah.
not get along?
I guess at the beginning of New 52 Just League Origins, like in that volume, it was just them getting to know each other, right? So like I think Green Lantern fought Batman for a quick sec.
Well, yeah, Batman.
But-
Obviously, you have Batman facing Superman in one of the most iconic
Yeah.
comics, but
Still.
it's like its own universe, kind of, and
yeah,
its
Civil
own.
War, Avengers vs. X-Men were at least
Like they were taking place in the main
on
continuity.
Earth 616, yeah.
So
But moving on, a couple quick movie notes. Obviously, Thunderbolts comes out May 4th.
I'm actually really excited.
I'm pumped. I don't want to get my hopes up, but I kind of am.
Maybe look forward
Because-
to some Matt knowledge being dropped on the channel.
That
Make
is
sure
true.
you
Lots
subscribe
of
and ring that bell.
characters in that movie.
I think a lot of characters people don't know.
Yes, and also characters that are in the movie that are very different than their comic book counterparts.
So I would say
So-
keep your eyes open for some Nerdy Misfit content where Matt maybe gives you a little bit of a
Maybe something.
lesson going into, so you're not completely lost.
Exactly. And the other big news recently in movies is an actress got confirmed for Spider-Man 4. You may know her from Stranger Things. It's actress Sadie Sink.
All the Stranger Things
No.
actors getting their bigger roles,
Yeah.
if you will, or finding their place
At least this
outside,
one won't tank.
finding their place outside of
Yeah.
Stranger Things.
Big thing about it is that she's a redhead, so everyone has been like, "Oh, she's gonna be
Green-
the real Mary Jane, or
or
she's gonna
Green
be
Jane,
Jean,
yeah.
Grey.
Jean-
Jean Grey."
Those are the two biggest, and
I
I,
hope
feel
they're
like
not either of them.
you don't want her to be either.
No.
Why not? What's
Well, first off, we
Too
already
young
have
for
MJ.
Jean Grey?
It's not even about the age. Like we've already had MJ. We don't need to be like, "Oh, here's another person also nicknamed MJ."
yeah?
Like, that's
the
stupid.
we already got the kind of forced MJ.
Yeah.
It seems very weird to have a forced MJ for the first 3 movies and then all of a sudden be like, oh,
Here's
is
an-
Mary Jane
Yeah,
Watson.
here's an actual Mary Jane. That one, Jean Grey. I feel like introducing X-Men in a Spider-Man movie just feels weird to me.
It depends on how it's done. What if Spider-Man 4 we get Man Spider, and
See,
you
I
get
don't
in
think they
and
would
we
do
get
that.
and we get Professor X.
See, that'd be intriguing. But another character I would love for her to play, and that is not Jean Grey, not MJ. There's another redhead, which is Firestar.
Oh,
The only
Firestar.
reason I'd be on board of this is if they do what they did. There's I think it's in the 60s or 70s. There's a Spider-Man and Friends shows, and it's Spider-Man, Firestar, and Bobby Drake. Iceman, Firestar, and Spider-Man.
I mean,
And
it could.
in the Ultimate comic books, he was friends with like Kitty
Yeah.
and Bobby. So
Well, Spider-Man's often with a lot of
mutants,
he's-
yeah, they're around the same
yeah.
age.
He's
right?
been with a lot of different stories with him involved. He's got like this. I'm not a mutant, but I'm a mutant.
Yeah.
You know, I don't have the X gene, but I'm a mutant.
Yeah, which is confirmed in the comics. He's a mutant. He's just not the X gene style mutant.
Yeah. So there's overlap.
Yeah.
And
So I don't know. I think putting some like B-list X-Men characters would be fun. I
be
think
interesting.
The reason why I don't want her to be Jean Grey is because it's the big reason why we didn't get a regular style Mary Jane Watson is because we already know it. We know that Jean Grey is going to become the Phoenix, you know.
But we don't know that. They don't
Not
have to.
necessarily
They don't
in
have
this,
to do the
but-
Phoenix at all. I mean, obviously, a lot of people want it because they want to see it done right.
Third time's the
But-
charm.
B-
But
Maybe not. Maybe we just get the X-Men.
yeah, I don't know. I think
Our
it'd be
time
fun.
traveling, fighting for the little guy X-Men.
Maybe. But would you want would you want her to be Jean Grey or would you want her to be someone else?
There isn't any character that particularly stands
It
out.
doesn't have to be a redhead either.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
That's the thing. Like
people dye their
she-
hair all the time in Hollywood.
she could be Felicia. She could
For those who don't know, Felicia
also just-
Hardy.
dye her hair.
Exactly. She could also just dye her hair. Felicia Hardy is Black Cat in the comics, an interesting love interest for Spider-Man over the years.
Obviously, a lot of people want Felicia Hardy to be what's the one actress that is blowing up in popularity? Oh man, I can't remember her name. She is in the Euphoria with Zendaya.
Oh, I know who you're talking about too. But she could be good. I don't know.
I know that's like a lot of fan
yeah.
casting, which maybe they tease us with a potential.
Yeah.
Also, can't remember her name right now for the life of me.
I'm drawing a blank. But yeah, I don't know. She's confirmed. I'm curious if she's going to be a big role in mine or if she could just be a female.
Also,
villain of some
casting her
sort.
if she is Jean Grey, that gives us the rough age we should expect
the rest of them.
the rest of them, right?
Well, I mean, we don't know what the Captain Marvel 2, like the Marvel's post-credit scene was about with Beast being there.
But Beast looked like Beast, right?
Beast looked like Beast.
Age very hard to determine.
Yeah, but I mean, he's not 15.
No, he wasn't 15, but he could just be older. They could just have
be
older
They
Beast.
could have older Beast and younger Jean.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't really have to add up.
They don't have to go in proper order
Yeah.
of how the school was set up.
No, exactly. I mean, the X-Men movies didn't either.
I just mean in
So-
terms of if she is Jean, we should expect a Scott
Younger
to be
Cyclops, yeah.
same rough age. Probably expecting Iceman to be a little bit younger than both of them.
Yeah, maybe an angel, maybe not an angel.
Like we'd be roughly gauging, right? Maybe
Yeah.
they all are closer to Peter's age too. I think it would be cool to see the introduction of some of the X-Men being Peter, like being like, I want to see
Yeah.
what's going on. Because maybe the Man Spider is something we've never not seen in live action. It's never even been hinted at that there's issues with his mutation, right?
Yeah,
So maybe it'd be
that is
cool
true.
to see him struggle with something without any friends.
Yeah.
That right? Because that's part of what Spider-Man 4 is going to be. It's just Peter.
Yeah, restart.
So maybe it would be cool to see the Man Spider show up and be like, hey, there's something going on. How do I figure it out? He's like, oh, there's this professor who is, has his PhD in mutation.
I could see him like getting an acceptance to like a college seminar, and that's how we get introduced to Xavier or something like that.
Or he looks it up and he's like, oh, this guy is coming to the school I'm at for giving a, mutation.
Speech, yeah.
Because where did we ended Spider-Man 3 with them getting their acceptances.
Yeah, and then the memory of obviously, and then he moves to New York.
So
Well, not New York, but like, yeah, and obviously it's been hinted at in Kingpin. Like, there's
yes,
been
that there is
so-
a guy dressed as a spider,
Yeah.
maybe someone else.
go for someone else. Speaking of Daredevil Born Again is obviously a few episodes in. Season 2's already been confirmed. People are
are loving it.
for season 3 already. They're like, there's gonna be a season 3. I'm like,
Yeah, people are absolutely loving the show. Without spoiling anything, people are also not giving up on certain characters.
yeah.
But
Which
yeah,
there's an Easter egg in that scene referencing a comic book issue
that
that
yeah,
happens in.
exactly. So, with Daredevil, actually, I could not remember everything that's happened. So I've gone
watched
down.
it all.
I've gone down the Netflix Marvel show wormhole,
Yep.
and man, those were some good shows. They have their issues for sure.
Yeah,
There's
but-
definitely some issues with them, but man, what solid Marvel shows.
Great casting all around.
Casting was good. Some of the dialogue for some of the characters is not as great.
Yep.
But Daredevil is pretty fantastic overall. So yeah, I've watched all of the Daredevil, Jessica Jones, Luke Cage. I'm only need to watch the second season of Iron Fist, I believe, and I need to watch all the Punishers, but I've also watched the Defenders. So I could watch Daredevil, so I can kind of
Understand
where we're at, what's
Yeah.
going on, how the characters are feeling about one another. Because I remember a lot of drama between the trio,
Mhm.
and I could not remember for the life of me where they kind of left off. Because the Daredevil Netflix show never really had a proper conclusion.
Yeah.
They just were like, done. We're done. Then
Yep,
7
moving
years
on.
later, we get this, and it's Chef Kiss. I mean,
The sequel everyone wanted, but even
seeing the
better.
Kingpin again, seeing...
I think people are also impressed that Disney Plus is doing this show justice. I think
Oh,
that's a big
absolutely. Yeah,
thing.
good. It's been very great. The writing's
Yeah.
been great. Cinematography's been great. The fighting. That's the one thing that's so great about these more street level heroes. We just see some fun choreography.
Yeah.
For these more, I'm gonna call them, I guess, like vigilant, like the more vigilante style. Like, oh, I'm not like an Avenger. I'm just your guy that's trying to protect my city.
Yeah, you're defending your city.
And obviously, Daredevil has a lot more drama and built into this season, especially. So, been loving that. On top of TV shows, we already got an announcement that season 3 is confirmed, greenlit for Percy Jackson. Which there's a few good things. One, they're very confident in season 2 doing well.
Which is
Two,
good on me.
They're trying their hardest to avoid the Stranger Things effect.
Yeah, they're
trying to pump
which
them out.
Is the way to do it.
Absolutely.
I don't care if it's stuck in post production hell for a year. Your characters are at least going to age properly.
Get them to do the acting.
Exactly.
Get it on tape while they're
Exactly.
the same similar ages.
Yeah, exactly. And then they will properly age in the story as they should.
So that's exciting. Obviously, I haven't even seen season 2, and to be fair, I'm not even that excited for season 2 because it's not even that
I'm
exciting
excited for season 3.
I know.
Like,
we
I
haven't
do
seen season 2.
enjoy-
We're more excited for season 3.
Rick Riordan posted a couple days before season 3 got announced. He's like, "Yeah, I'm not saying that we should find someone to cast for Nico, but like in theory, we should figure that out soon." And then 3 days later, they're like, "By the way,
absolutely,
because Nico becomes a core character
in the whole world.
Yeah,
Not in past the Percy Jackson original series, right?
He becomes a fan.
Do we go
favorite.
past Percy Jackson?
That would be a dream, but
I think I don't know. I kind of like the other series. There's moments, I guess, that I enjoy more from the other series. Obviously,
but that's a lot to ask, right? Because you got to keep in mind that that's 5 more books, so that's 5
bigger books too.
Yeah,
Bigger
Those would be
books,
longer seasons or part 2, like 2 seasons,
or just
like,
you'd have to be cutting out a lot more stuff. Which maybe for some of those books wouldn't be a bad thing.
agreed. But other ones like I would love I wouldn't want to cut anything from the first 2 or the first 3 even.
I'm just saying, it's possible.
It's possible.
And then we can dive right into the books being still not even released.
Yeah.
So
really, yeah, I am curious on how like the sales and stuff
of the books have gone. Yeah, we'll have to look into that when
season 2.
maybe when season 2 comes out.
Later this year, I believe.
We'll dive a little deeper into how all of his book series that are related in the same universe have done since, because there are moments that have been left out in season 1 as well, but
Nothing drastic though.
It is a much more faithful adaptation.
Yeah.
Which
That's
is
the craziest. You can feel when the writer's on set and the writer is like genuinely a part of it.
You say that, but
For certain shows,
we have seen a certain HBO rumored castings for a certain massive book series that does have their author there.
Well, that's a whole other situation.
So we won't dive into that one
though. One last thing in the big TV show, Andor season 2 starting up on April 22nd. They're doing something different, which they are releasing 3 episodes a week, which seems kind of odd to me. I can understand 2 episodes.
Depends on how. No, maybe
we'll see.
They
it could
do
be like a arcane situation.
They're trying to keep certain
like mini
stories
story arcs.
intact.
That could make sense.
I did really like the way that Riot handled that storytelling.
Genius.
It made the flow so much better. You weren't really ever left on this. There were cliffhangers where you never left on a cliffhanger like, oh, I have to wait till next week. I'm kind of forgetting. You could really just watch the 3 like.
It reminded me of reading like graphic novels from Marvel DC.
Yeah, where you just kind of grab the next one and you're like, oh,
boom. Here's some hints of like what can happen next, but it is what it is.
Yeah, and those core kind of stories obviously are important for the whole thing. So it would be very interesting to see that told for live action in a way, especially with something that they can take more creative freedom on.
Yeah.
Right, with Andor. So
moving on, video games. Not too much. Two of the biggest things is there's a new DC mobile game called Dark Legion. It's like a PvE, PvP combat with customized parties, exploding powerful synergies between fan favorite superheroes and supervillains. It's only out on iOS, Android, and PC. A Marvel game that I totally forgot was coming out. I just
1943, yeah.
Marvel 1943, The Rise of Hydra. Hopefully coming out Christmas 2025.
It looks pretty good.
Looks pretty good.
Is there also a Black Panther game that's being worked on that also looks really good?
Same game.
Same game,
Black
yeah.
Panther's in Rise of Hydra.
Yeah.
There's also rumors of a Wolverine game that was by Rocksteady, I think. That was
similar to
confirmed.
Batman.
Yeah, just back burner.
So there are some games that are on the burner. The problem with some of these games and Star Wars is some people have been getting excited and then all of a sudden they get canceled.
Yeah.
And they never see the light. Hopefully that doesn't happen. We did get the Pokemon Legends ZA announcement teaser thing. Honestly, I'm gonna give it an L. I think Game Freak dropped the ball again. I think there's some things that obviously people are asking for. It's nice to see Mega Evolutions and potentially new Mega Evolutions coming.
Yep.
But taking place in one city, lazy. Game Freak has so much, like Nintendo has so much money. Pokemon, you don't even have to steal from other. Don't even have to take money from other places. Yeah. Pokemon has so much money.
Does it look pretty?
We're doing
sure, but
we don't even know if that's true. That's just what they showed.
What in the teaser.
It could be another poorly optimized, laggy filled game.
Yeah. Did you play through Pokemon Legends?
I haven't played through Pokemon Legends, no, but I've watched gameplay, obviously.
Fair.
There are elements that they've reintroduced again. The battling looks a little bit more sharp.
Yep.
Or well thought out based on from Arceus, right? Because now we're seeing it in what appears to be not just boss battles.
Yeah.
Which could be fun. I like the idea of changing up a core mechanic of Pokemon with actually adding what people see in the anime, dodging and whatnot. But overall, taking place in one city, and that's where and it's just like sections, and it's like this section of the city has these Pokemon. Part of what people like about Pokemon is exploring the
Especially with Legends of Arceus became much more of an open world concept.
Yeah, it was the first big one for kind of being able to do what you wanted.
Yeah.
I don't know. They don't change, like, as much as I like Mega Evolutions, it's not like it's new.
No.
You know what I mean? The new battling system isn't new. We've already seen it.
Starters aren't new.
Not a new city.
No.
What are we doing?
Trying to nostalgia bait?
It really does feel like they just know that Pokemon, and I've seen people having similar takes where they don't like it and then just getting absolutely roasted by Pokemon fans who just will eat any garbage.
Pokemon fans are toxic.
I love Pokemon.
No, I love Pokemon too, but
like, man, people will just eat anything like Game Freak will give them.
Yeah.
And part of it's like, if you don't, it's not saying that this game could be good.
Yeah. We're not saying
it's just
it's not.
The expectation should be a lot higher.
Yeah.
Instead of getting fed the same garbage.
Exactly.
So I'm not excited, but with that said, I'm a hypocrite and I'm probably gonna buy the game.
Exactly. I'm gonna buy it regardless, you know. Speaking of Pokemon as well, Niantic sells location-based games like Pokemon Go,
Pikmin Bloom, Monster Hunter Now to a Saudi-based company, Scopely, for $3.5 billion.
Insane.
I saw that. Yeah, the sentiment seems to be that a lot of the fans are very concerned with where the game is going to be going, because they did with this purchase. They also did purchase the developers who work on the game. So a lot of people are questioning how is this going to affect? Is there going to be a lot more? Because I think this company's picked up other games that ended up really cranking up the in-game purchases. So like, how is this going to affect that? We'll see. Is this the end of Pokemon Go? If it is, it had a pretty great run.
Yeah, we were addicted to it for quite some time.
Yeah, it was a fun game. Kill time.
Yeah. Lastly, on the video game front, a video game / mobile game. It's free. It was Star Wars Hunters. Okay, this game came out less than a year ago.
Oh yeah, that's
about
not good.
9 months, 10 months, And on April 15th, the game's final content update will be released for free, and in-game purchases will be disabled across all platforms.
Is this a mobile game or?
It's on the Switch and mobile. Yeah. It was supposed to go on Steam, supposed to go on PC, but it just didn't perform well. It's like free. It's like a battle arena Coliseum style game. Yeah. And then on October 1st, online servers will officially be shut down, and Star Wars Hunters will be no longer playable at that point.
Yeah, and then what about the people who spent the money? And yeah, it sucks.
You
hate to see
that risk.
You
right?
do,
it's
but
unfortunate. But
and this is the problem with some of the more online focused games as well, is that if you don't own if it doesn't have like the story or anything, then the game is dead.
Yep.
Which is very, that sucks. Also, one last other news is we did get the Switch 2 announcement. What did you think?
I'm in no rush to buy it. I mean,
I'd have to see how certain games, because it does seem like it's definitely better than the Switch, for sure. From a performance standpoint, it's definitely a significant upgrade. Part of the problem is, one, will studios like Game Freak actually optimize their games to take advantage of this and make sure they're properly optimized to play super well? Because we saw games like Violet and Scarlet did not take advantage of, like, not saying the Switch is good, but they did not optimize the game well for the Switch.
Yeah.
But then you see games like the Zelda games, which were amazing. And even though the Switch was holding them back, they still looked incredible.
Yeah.
And they were still open world. They were great games. So it was doable. Yeah. With the more powerful hardware, hopefully we'll be able to see more PC games being ported to the Switch as truer to form games. I know how long did people wait for Hogwarts to come out?
Yeah.
And it's not even really the same game because because it doesn't have the capabilities, so they had to like nerf the game basically. So we'll see. I think the magnet style Joy-Cons is way better.
Yep, I do agree with that.
I've had a lot of issues with the Joy-Cons besides just the stick drift.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll have to see how it performs with actual games. Is at the end of the day. That's really
what it comes down to. Yeah.
And not Nintendo games. We have to see how a game that comes out on PC and the PlayStation and perform and how it compared. Because at the end of the day, it's probably still going to end up being behind the other consoles and obviously PC. But if it can even perform like a Steam Deck, and because basically the Switch has started the revolution of these handheld devices.
Yeah.
So, but it's so out of its league compared to the Steam Decks, the Legions, the ROG Ally. So we need to see it be able to compete with that.
Agreed. Wholeheartedly agree. Moving on, a little bit of book news. I'll just cover this quick. The newest Hunger Games book comes out yesterday as the release of this episode. Called
You're tired of the Hunger
Sunrise
Games, right?
On the Reaping. I am tired of the Hunger Games, but I'm going to read this book.
You're gonna read it.
Was one of my favorite characters, and the fact that we get to see his game makes me kind of excited because of how his character is.
Because I remember we saw the previous movie.
We saw the trailer for Songbird and Snake, and I was like, I don't care about this.
And that's the thing. We're going back, and this is one cool thing though about creating a world that has history.
Yeah, you're able to do stuff like that.
Is like you can go back and be like, hey, I'm gonna tell a story. Like another big one is thinking of George R.R. Martin. He has obviously the Song of Ice and Fire, but he has the other book series that's covering literally what's going on in the House of Dragon, which is just a referenced battle in the Game of Thrones books.
Yeah, my only thing about this Hunger Games book is the fact that the book got released and then 2 days later they're like, yeah, we're making it into a movie. I'm like, that's I mean, I get it. I know it's gonna sell, but that's still kind of ballsy to be like, yeah, well, here you go. Here's a movie. Because the Songbird and Snake did not do well from what I know.
I think financially it did okay.
Oh, fair.
But fair. I know what you mean. You mean it was not well received.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. It was okay.
Yeah, it was an okay movie.
And the history was interesting. Seeing
That's fair.
How the Hunger Games. Yeah. Well, one, it was a very early Hunger Games, and it was definitely not the Hunger Games we see.
In the Hunger Games.
Exactly.
That is fair.
Otherwise,
Star Wars High Republic novel coming out April 1st. I'm still collecting those. And obviously the biggest news is we've already talked about Percy Jackson, and there's a new Percy Jackson book coming out in October, I believe, the end of the sequel to Percy Jackson trilogy. And then another book is coming out as well called The Court of the Dead, a Nico D'Angelo adventure. He's already got one of his books.
People do like Nico.
People love Nico. He's important to...
He's edgy.
He's edgy. He's important to multiple series. The fact that he's got his second solo book just goes to show you that he's a big character. People love him.
Yep.
You know?
For sure.
Don't know if he's in the Trials of Apollo yet because I haven't gone that far. But we'll find out, I guess.
You'll find out when you read it. Just one more movie thing, actually, before we dive into our anime, which will be our last topic. Snow White.
Oh, yeah.
Coming out soon. Seems like Disney is already doing a lot of,
they know it's not going to do well. Let's just say what it is. Yeah. They know it's not going to do well.
They're not confident.
They're not confident, which I don't blame them.
No early screenings for any...
private screenings, if anything.
The premiere is only people that Disney and people that have worked on the films, I believe. People within Disney and then people that have worked on the film.
Contradictions with the person that's playing Snow White. Like
Gal Gadot as well.
But like particularly the actress that plays Snow White, like she's answered the same question in multiple interviews with various different answers too. Being like, oh, like Snow White's okay. I've never heard it, never really watched it. And then more recently, she's like, oh my gosh, it's my favorite Disney movie. And like, I love
they
Snow
just
White.
can't control her. She's because remember last year she was just absolutely shitting on Snow White and the whole concept of
don't need a
Prince Charming and true love. I mean, some of the things are old fashioned, but sometimes people like that. They don't want everything to be like real life. Yeah. Because they're living real life. Exactly.
Question is, how fast will it be on Disney Plus?
I still don't think I'm going to watch it either.
No, I probably won't. But, like, for example, I think it's Mickey 17, which is a
things have been coming out really quick, though, in general, on streaming services in general. I forget what movie it was, but it was on Prime already, and I was like, feels like that movie came out
like last month.
Yeah, a few months ago. It'll be on there quick.
It's a rough industry.
It'll be there quick. I know that the opening weekend I don't expect to be good. The only thing is things like the Mufasa also had a really bad opening week, but ended up doing decently well.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see. I think this movie has a pretty large budget, like something like 600 million.
The budget's insane for it.
So I don't think it cracks it. So
definitely not.
But we'll probably when we have that information, I'm sure we'll bring it up on the podcast.
All right, moving on to anime stuff.
Anime. So first of all, I guess we should open this by saying spring anime season starts in April. If you haven't already, check out our spring 2025 anime season breakdown to see what kind of things caught our eyes. Also, let us know in the comment section down below what you're excited for when it comes to anime, as well as everything else we've talked about this fine episode.
Any books you're looking for, movies, TV shows, comic books, etc. Let us know.
And with that being said, also, we approach the end of March, which is the end of our anime of the month, which this month is My Teen Romantic Comedy Snafu Season 1. So if you want to join in on the conversation on that, make sure to crank that show out basically this week and a half you got, because we'll probably record it the next week. So
exactly,
if you want to join in, join our Discord. Linktree is down in the description below. If you're listening to this on a podcast platform, just head on over to our podcast profile, and the Linktree is in there. You can copy that link, throw it in your URL, and join us in the Discord. With that said, what's going on in some anime? So I guess I'll go by one of the most recent things that's happened as of recording, which is Solo Leveling becoming the most popular anime on Crunchyroll. Now, this is based on ratings. So this is already a technically isn't it, right? Because personally, we do watch stuff on Crunchyroll.
Yeah.
Have you ever rated anything on Crunchyroll?
No.
Me neither. So the amount of people watching these shows probably aren't rating. I don't think this is a good measurement because not everyone rates something on Crunchyroll. But I will say, I've been enjoying Solo Leveling Season 2, so fair enough. But with that also said, it passed One Piece, and One Piece has been on hiatus for 3 or 4 months or whatever it's been, And with that said, April 6th, One Piece is back. So
Back,
we'll see if that
baby.
ends up retaking its place. We'll see.
I mean, the dub is caught up.
Dub is caught up.
That's a big thing.
We'll be diving into the world of the land of the giants, Elbaf. So
Heck yeah.
that's very exciting.
It's been a fun read so far.
And with that said, I also want to, we give Toy a lot of credit.
Yep.
Or not the opposite. We give them a lot of flack. So I feel like we should give them the credit where credit's due. And I was very impressed with the Fishman Island changes. I do think
The condensing of it.
the fixing of some of the animation. I think overall, if they could show that with the time they had for the rest of One Piece, that would be really nice to see.
Exactly.
So just give them their comeuppance. They did. It was good. Well done. And also, like, big ups to them for was a risk taking the hiatus, and I respect them for doing so because it's memed it's so heavily memed at this point, right? That it's so badly paced. So it's nice to see
them understanding that, seeing the feedback, I guess.
And they've been pretty receptive in terms of during the Wano arc, people were really not enjoying the extreme amount of particle effects, being like this One Piece isn't Dragon Ball. One Piece is a shonen, but it's not Dragon Ball.
Yep.
And they toned down a lot of the particle effects after that. So they've been very receptive. So respect for that. Batman Ninja movie sequel releasing in theaters March 18th. Are you excited for that? I know you've seen the first movie, right?
I am.
Maybe excited is not the term. You'll be watching it?
I'll be watching it. I don't have.
I thought it was interesting,
but like it's fun.
It's definitely
I'm a
fun.
sucker for alternate timelines, multiverse stuff. So, and plus, when it's some of my favorite things, like when it's comics and manga, or comics and anime mixing together, I'm gonna grab it.
Two things you
watch
like.
it. Like it's
Two of your worlds crossing.
Exactly. Another big thing that's actually not on this list is the Crunchyroll Awards. Voting opens April 3rd, which is in like 2 weeks.
And we will be covering both nominees. We'll also be covering some series as our anime of the month.
Yep. And obviously talking about the awards when they come out. So the voting is April 3rd to April 14th. And then the live show in Tokyo is May 25th.
And I believe the reason for this is so that they could fit this winter season.
Which is, we've discussed this in the past.
But it does feel like the winter season is sometimes forgotten.
Yeah, exactly.
And now it seems like they're going, hey, the winter season all the way to the end of the fall.
Yeah. The proper.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, it often does feel like the winter does get forgotten and doesn't really get its...
Yeah. I mean, I remember, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, but like Chainsaw Man was in like
it wasn't even it or something.
Yeah.
It wasn't even nominated because it wasn't
in that
done.
good time frame.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll see some titles that don't get slept on.
And hopefully people will still tune in, even though it does feel like
a little late.
Kind of, it's just the anime season's in a weird...
Yeah.
It's not a calendar year, so it just feels awkward.
I agree.
Hopefully this becomes regular and it feels more natural as the years
playing field.
As the years come on, it'll feel more
normal. Regular,
and we'll be like, oh yeah, that's when Crunchyroll awards happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, we'll definitely be giving our 2 cents.
So stay
I'm
tuned
sure
for that
there'll be.
episodes.
I'm sure there might be some things winning that we maybe don't agree with.
Exactly. Haiku movie teaser no longer says final.
Yes, no longer says final. Are we going down an Attack on Titan level path? No,
hope
because
not.
they're no longer putting final. They're just like, it ends when we're done.
It ends when we're done because they realized that was a mistake from the Attack on Titan movies.
And I will say, after watching the Haikyuu movie, there was no shot they were finishing it in one more movie. I was concerned. I was like, there's no way.
Yeah. I
would say probably can be done in 3, but the movie was really well done, the first one.
That's fair.
It had, Matt, you would, as a little bit more of a film nerd, you would have loved the one cinematography of the one scene. It goes into like a first person mode. And you're following the player as he's like sweating and exhausted. Oh, It was so no music, just the squeaking of shoes, the heavy breathe. Oh, it was so well done.
The absence of music.
It was used so well. What a fantastic movie. Fantastically directed. We'll have to get Matt's 2 cents when he eventually catches up on Haikyuu.
Do have to do that.
But yeah, super excited that they're not rushing. I do like that they're like, hey, no, it's not the final.
Yeah.
So super excited. More ain't nothing wrong with more Haikyuu.
Yeah.
You know, people be dissing Attack on Titan and be like, oh, what's wrong with more Attack on Titan? Nothing. It may have not ended the best, but I still like it.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, we have this one's actually we mentioned in our episode, but I still think we should mention it here, which is the director of Cowboy Bebop and creator of Cowboy Bebop has a new series coming out that is also done by MAPPA, I believe.
Yep.
And that's Lazarus. So big anime to potentially check out, especially if you are a Cowboy Bebop fan, because I believe it takes place in the same universe.
I do believe so as well, yeah.
So definitely, if that's right up your alley, then check it out. I'm sure it'll be pretty good. We did get a teaser for Frieren 2026. Madhouse is coming back for it. If you are a Madhouse fan, you should be relieved that this isn't one of the one season dumps, because that often happens where it's a season 1 and then it gets thrown.
And the last big news is Demon Slayer movie coming out July 18th for Japan, and during this, I think it's like September 18th or something, late September.
Which I feel like
us.
we can honestly say is for sure the last of Demon Slayer. Unless they really milk it.
I could see them milking it.
And making it a part 1, part 2 all of a
I
sudden.
can see it.
The final arc does happen relatively quick.
It does.
So
But I can see them milking a big thing that happens.
some of the fights do, in my opinion, I will say, we have potential, maybe of shit on Demon Slayer a bit. It's good in its own ways. The anime is obviously beautiful.
Yep.
But there are things we've disliked from the manga and the story overall. So maybe I would like to see some of the fights during the final arc be expanded upon. This is what anime's for, right? It is you don't have to tell it frame
For frame.
for frame. So I would love to see some of them expanded.
Yeah.
Because they did feel a little bit more rushed in the manga to just get to completion.
I would love to get more like Hashirama.
So I wouldn't mind if the movie's longer too. Like give it a good 2-hour runtime.
2-hour anime movie.
I'm sure they can finish everything, and obviously we already know Ufotable is going to bring it's going to look amazing. Yeah. So, and then finally Demon Slayer will be done.
Exactly.
Because I feel like some people are already done with it. They're already on the hot new thing. Soul leveling is exploded.
Yep.
It's aura farming times a million.
Yeah. This year finale of Demon Slayer. This year finale of My Hero.
Yeah.
Some big hitters.
Some big hitters and tons of other news, guys. Yep. So make sure you follow other creators and find
news that interests you.
I know that there's a lot of Instagram pages, TikTok creators, etc. You never know what might show up in your feed, and then you're like, hey, that interests me, and then you can check it out. So
and let us know too if there's stuff that interests you that you want us to check out, read, watch, etc. Let us know, please. And yeah, until then, thanks for listening, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, subscribe, the whole shebang, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
TNMP, the Nerdy Misfit Podcast. Don't forget to join the island by dropping a follow. Thank you. And see you next week.